I'm going to tell you a story about a student I had maybe 15 years ago, and he telephoned me one day to tell me he was really excited because he had finished putting his presentation together and would I listen to it over the phone. So certainly I listened to it and it was really very, very good. He had a very good introduction. He had an excellent conclusion. He was audible. He was distinct in everything that he was saying. The content was interesting and varied, and it was a really good presentation. And the next time I saw him, I said, well, let's see the presentation again now with your visual aids, your visual material. And it was completely different. It was very, very strange because although he was still doing all the things that he'd done on the phone, his body language was telling a completely different story. And that's what this video is going to be about now, is talking about non-verbal communication and what a difference it can make to your presentation. It can make the difference between your appearing confident and as though you know what you're talking about and appearing quite the opposite. So what sorts of things do we need to consider in terms of what we don't want to see when you are presenting? Well, there are quite a few things. Think about presenters that you have seen yourself and sort of what makes a good presenter and what makes somebody engaging to watch as well as to listen to. And you'll probably notice that they all have certain things in common, and a lot of it is down to the way that they carry themselves. So you won't see good presenters slouching with their hands in their pockets. You won't see them leaning against something as if they really couldn't be bothered being there. You will see that they're not terribly note bound. What they're saying will come across naturally and spontaneously rather than via their looking at the notes and communicating with the notes rather than with the audience. That's because they're making eye contact with their listeners. And that's something that's really, really important. If your teacher did not make eye contact with you when they were teaching a lesson, you would find that quite strange quite quickly. So we really want to make eye contact. Now, for some people, that can be quite a difficult thing to do. So I'm just going to give you a quick trick that will help you with making eye contact if that is something that you find difficult to do. Now, you don't have to stare at one person. You know, the idea is really to look around your listening group and look at lots of different people, but appear to look in their eyes. Now, if you do find that difficult, what you can do is you can just look at this point here. So just between their eyes. And that will take away some of the discomfort for you, but it will make it feel to them as though you are looking in their eyes. So that's a good little tip to consider. So what other things do we want to make sure that we are doing in terms of body language and non-verbal communication? Well, our faces can really tell a story. So do use facial expression when you can. You know, it can really add to what it is that you're saying. If you're saying something surprising, try and reflect that in your face. If you're saying something that's very serious, try and reflect that in your face. That's something that's going to add to and enhance your presentation. Good posture is, of course, really important. As I said, if you're slouching, that really does give the wrong impression. So we want a nice straight back. We want your head up so that you look confident. We want open body language. We don't want arms closed because that comes across as very defensive. So if you can have open body language, that's also very, very important. Gesture is another tool that you can use to really good effect when you are talking, but be very careful not to overuse it. We would suggest that you watch some videos of politicians to see how effectively they use gestures. Very often you will see this gesture being used where there is a closed fist with the thumb over the top and they use that to make a point. Quite often you will see that they will emphasize a phrase with a noise, you know, make a clap or something like that just to sort of emphasize what it is that they are saying. So gesture needs to be used sparingly, but it can be extremely effective when we're thinking about non-verbal communication. So remember that what you say is very important. How you say it is very important, but also considering what your body is saying is equally important and something that you also need to consider when putting your presentation together.